Well, hey Gundam fans, Adam here with Gundam Explained. Today's episode, I'm actually going to do a little review, an overview of Char's Counterattack. So it's the Mobile Suit Gundam movie that followed Double Zeta Gundam. So we had, the original Mobile Suit Gundam, Zeta Gundam, and the original Mobile Suit had the trilogy, and then Double Zeta, and then in 1988, Yoshiyuki Tamano actually writes and directs Char's Counterattack. So following Double Zeta Gundam, it takes place in UC 0093, so yeah, Char's back. It's the second Neo-Zeon War. Yeah, so let's dive in, shall we? Yeah, I love this opening. It looks like a big budget Hollywood film with, seeing the company title screens, as well as the music. The music is what sells it, and that's Shigegaki Segusa. So this is the moon base von Braun, where Anaheim Electronics does their mobile suit development. So I love this opening. It's that amazing score that's occurring. We see Chan, who's a newer character, pull the sheet off of the new Gundam that's still in development. And by new Gundam, that is NU. That's just the terminology for naming this Gundam. And this is done by Omaro specifications as well. So who we're seeing, though, this is on that lunar base. It was Chan and October. And we'll see more of Chan later. So this is when we meet Quest Pariah. Not a popular character, although she really sets the motivations in play for most of the characters in this story. She just seems kind of a little spoiled, entitled, and she's rather rash with a lot of her decisions and the way she talks to people. But here her and her friends are being chased by Federation police. They capture her, take her back to her father, who happens to be the Prime Minister of the Earth Federation. And that's Ardenal Pariah. And as they are taking a flight somewhere to then take a flight off Earth, Quest is kind of just talking to her father about how she believes, space noids should have more independence. This is kind of setting up her motivations for later on in the story.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
So Neo-Zeon has control of the asteroid Fifth Luna, and they're actually sending it toward Earth to Lhasa and Tibet. And this is really brought on by Char. He's, back since we last saw him in Zeta. He wasn't in Double Zeta, but I guess he was behind the scenes, in-universe, behind the scenes planning this. He just doesn't like how both Zeon and Earth Federation are going about things. Char just wants to drop an asteroid on Earth and start things over again.
Accelerating towards Earth. Entry angle of fifth. Check.
We see Char's Relula. Omaro and his Rigizi fighting Gyune Gus. Gyune is with Neo-Zeon. He is in the Yacht Doga. Yacht is actually Jagd, but you pronounce it Yacht. It's supposed to mean hunting, I think in Dutch. I don't want to be wrong. But what's interesting about this is we're kind of seeing this kind of first battle take place where Omaro wants to stop Fifth Luna from accelerating and hitting Earth. Gyune is in his mobile suit trying to hold off Omaro, but that's when Char is then sent out in Isazabi to control the situation. Now it's cool, at the beginning of the film, we are getting a little action scene with Char and Omaro and their mobile suits, although we're not seeing Omaro in his new Gundam yet. But this is where we see a lot of character motivations being spelled out. Char's pretty much saying humans on Earth need to understand what they have, and they're being weighed down by gravity, so let's throw an asteroid onto them, get them to change their minds and ideals. And Omaro obviously doesn't agree with that approach. It's kind of a violent way to go about things, and there's already been colony drops that have occurred. If you think about the original Mobile Suit Gundam, there's been colony lasers, what happens in Double Zeta with the drop on Dublin. It's just all these atrocities have been occurring, and Omaro wants an end to that. But at the same time, Char has his motivations. He wants to be able for space noids to have freedom and not have the corruption that exists within Earth Federation and that did exist within the Zeon remnants. But now that Char is ahead of that, he's hoping to change things. Now, at the spaceport, we get to see Mirai, Hathaway, and Chi-Man. They are going to leave and take off because an asteroid's going to hit. There's a war going on. They don't want to be involved in all that. But at the same time, at the spaceport, we see Adenau and Quest Pariah arrive. And I guess her stepmom or the mistress of Adenau just didn't want to be a part of it. She just can't stand being around Quest. I mean, isn't that like that with everybody? Except Hathaway and Gyune. What's interesting about this part is because Adenau is prime minister, he's able to kind of jump ahead to get the seats on the spaceship that's leaving the spaceport. But they had room for one more, and so he offered to bring Hathaway aboard. Now that means Mirai and Chi-Man have to stay back, and that is kind of scary, but at least Hathaway gets to leave. And so it's on this plane, or the space shuttle, where Hathaway meets Quest and starts having feelings for her. You know, this is very reminiscent of what we are seeing in Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway, you know, the sequel to this. What's interesting is this is the start of seeing that new type attractiveness occurring. But what's even scarier is they're trying to avoid a battle that's occurring while an asteroid is entering the atmosphere. So the asteroid hit, we saw some devastation there. And so next up, on the Raikayum, Omaro is with Chan in October because he's going to retrieve his new Gundam so he can further stop Char, even though he already had an asteroid hit Earth. And we also learned from October that Anaheim Electronics has installed psychoframe technology into the new Gundam to help improve reaction times. And with Omaro being a new type, that's kind of the point of the psychoframe. I love the look of these battles. Omaro and his new Gundam.
A Gundam? Dad!
Hathaway?
Father-son reunion. And so we have Adenar on the Raikayum, and he's speaking with Bright. He's letting him know that he has to take him to Hondonian. This is where a secret meeting is going down with Neo Zeon that Char's involved with. And we actually see Cameron Bloom, Mirai's ex-fiance that was in Mobile Suit Gundam. We see some new type action occurring. Amaro's dreaming actually at this point in a way, and he's seeing Lala and she's speaking to him.
Char is pure of heart.
Oh, man, what's going on?
Lieutenant,
What is it?
well, if you have a second, would you mind coming to the mobile suit deck?
Be there in 10.
Right.
Amaro seems pretty cold in this.
So cold suddenly.
Okay, she actually says that. Here we see Quest in kind of a simulation for mobile suits, and I guess this is kind of getting the first look, or I guess the reasoning behind the fact that she's able to pilot mobile suits later on in the film. Quest runs into Omaro, and she's infatuated with him. If Omaro was any other guy, he would probably take advantage of that like we see Char do. But he's on a mission. Omaro is pure of heart. Quest and Hathaway have some more moments together. They talk about adults. They talk about new type abilities. It's very reminiscent to what we see in Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway, which, again, watching Char's Counterattack helps understand the motivations Hathaway has in Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway. In fact, I think a lot of the basis for his motivations and the story are based on what occurs in Char's Counterattack. This is kind of funny and annoying how Quest is asking Chan about Omaro, and you can kind of see where Chan's busy. She's working on things. She's kind of telling Quest, hey, not right now. But Quest is mad because Chan's in her way to get to Omaro. Again, Quest, super annoying in this. She's like the real villain of the whole movie. So they land on the colony Londonian. The officials, like Cameron Bloom, Adenau, Pariah, they're going to go do their things. So then Omaro, Hathaway, and Quest are going to kind of go out and look around.
We'll be asking you for a favor today.
So Char is with the other officials of the Earth Federation, and they're making a deal. The deal is give Xeon access, and we will disarm or relinquish all of their weaponry. And Cameron is sensing something going on here. It seems more like instead of stopping Char or holding him accountable for his crimes, they just want to be able to get the gold they can provide, but give Neo Xeon access. And cool to see Haro constantly showing up here, but something very interesting is going to occur here in a moment that kind of turns the tables. Char is done with his little discussion or his little planned meeting with the Earth Federation, and he's off to go horseback riding.
Chase that swan over there,
The swan reminding him of Lala soon.
Q-name for me. Right.
Omaro notices Char.
Char?
Brand, all those ignorant people your so-called wisdom at this very moment.
He's right. It can't be done.
What you say? After
And we kind of see a recreation of the scene, or the scene that was recreated in Hathaway from what happened in Char's Counterattack. Quest overhears what Char's talking about, and that's kind of the independence for Space Noids. And she agrees with him, so she decides to jump out, stop Omaro from pulling the gun on Char, and then she turns it around on them. It's kind of crazy. Again, she is the true villain of this film. And then this interesting hobby Hyzack, which is pretty cool. They call it hobby because it's more like a sports vehicle. It doesn't have weaponry. And I kind of like that idea. They have it land so Char and Quest can get aboard and escape. So Cameron meets with Bright, lets him know everything. He, even though he's Mirai's ex-fiance, he still has feelings for her in a good way. And wanted to tell Bright of the situation that occurred with the Earth Federation officials and Char that something fishy is going on. Here we see Gyune taking Quest out in a mobile suit. Gyune obviously is going to start getting feelings for Quest, but Quest now has feelings for Char. And while Hathaway was supposed to stay behind as Rakayum takes off, he gets into a petite mobile suit to sneak aboard. So we have this character with Neo Xeon Nanai that she seems to be the love interest of Char, maybe just for show, now that Char is having to be this political leader. But also she is a director of the new type labs that Neo Xeon has. So she's also kind of in charge of the new type program, which Gyune and Quest are now a part of. And as we go, we kind of see where, again, Quest being annoying is kind of perturbed by the relationship between Nanai and Char, and she even brings it up to Char, Quest does, to say that she doesn't like Nanai. It's, I'm telling you, true villain. Really cool scene. I think they're on Sweetwater. That's the colony that a lot of the Xeons are at, like the citizens and everything. And, you know, they see Char, they bring him a rose, and then they start singing what sounds to me like kind of Eastern European, almost Soviet-era style singing. And the way they have the city look, it's kind of using that atmosphere to describe Neo Xeon. And then I asked Char if what he's doing is to get revenge on Omaro for the death of Lala soon, even from Mobile Suit Gundam. Even though it wasn't fully Amaro's fault, he did accidentally get Lala killed, and Char has such strong feelings for Lala. Char is saying it's really just to stop the way humans are treating space noids and treating the Earth, and to reset humans on Earth. Here's a little recreation of the animation for Mobile Suit Gundam. So Mirai and chime in. They're planning their evacuation since, unfortunately, they were left behind on Earth while Hathaway got to go take that shuttle to space.
Made hastily in order to accommodate those refugees.
Really cool shot of the Sweetwater colony while Char's making a speech. And with this speech, Char is speaking about what his plans and motivations are. He even talks about what happened with Zeon previously, becoming Neo Zeon, how Haman Karn didn't really do her best to push Zeon forward, and we don't really hear a lot about Minerva at this time, even though she's a zombie heir and not a Zeon heir. And I think that's then why Char has the spotlight. Char speaks of his plans to drop the newly acquired Axis onto Earth. So not only did we have one asteroid drop at the beginning of this film, but an additional one to completely destroy the Earth. What we have going on then is Char is actually sending dummy ships to Luna 2, and it's a trick that they're playing on the Earth Federation to then follow through with Char's follow-up plan. So that is just part 1 for my review of Char's Counterattack. There's really a lot to talk about, and stay tuned for part 2. Talk to you later.